So I'm considered quite tall to some people. I'm 6'7" or around 2 meters tall, I think. Don't get me wrong, that definitely has a lot of benefits, like playing basketball, picking fruit off trees, getting stuff from the top shelves in the shops. But it definitely comes with some negatives, like banging your heads on door frames and people asking you this.
How's the weather up there?
Good one, good one.
If you could do me a massive favor, guys, and absolutely smash that like button for me, and also please subscribe. I beg of you, please subscribe. We're so close to 1,000 subs now, it's crazy. We might even be at 1,000 subs by the time this video comes out. I do appreciate the support. Salute to you guys. So when buying a new car, room is super important. When you're tall, it is one of the biggest things you're looking at. Take it back 10 years when I was just getting into driving and I could barely afford a bike. So I sort of had to accept whatever I could afford. And one of the very first cars that I could afford was a rust bucket Ford Ka, which cost me around £300 at the time. Being tall in a small car, it's not easy. So here is that car. This is one of my first cars. If you have seen a Ford Ka before, they are tiny, they're small cars. And yeah, this brings me on to my next point. So size is really important when it comes to buying cars. On a long journey, my knees are absolutely shot. In fact, I used to dread long journeys back in the day when I had the Punto, the Polo, the Ka, even sometimes the Transit van. They didn't come with much leg room. So when I'm buying a car, leg room's a huge thing for me. And it was a huge factor when I bought the Model 3 to know if it had enough room in the Model 3 for myself. It was an apprehension I had with the Model 3, and a lot of people talk about the Model 3 being a small car. If you want to see about the room inside a Model 3, see my video in the description, because I covered this already about me in the Model 3. Some of you know I'm on the hunt for a new Tesla, another Tesla, a used Tesla at the moment. And the Model X is calling to me. It's absolutely calling to me because of the size of it, but I've not ruled out the Model S. So what about the Model S? What about the room in a Tesla Model S? So today I have a brand new 2020 long range Model S. That is what I'm driving right now. And I want to talk size, not just leg room and headroom, but passenger, boot space, frunk, leg room in the rear. I want to talk how big this thing really is. So dimensions wise, the Model S is a huge car. It's almost 5 meters long, 2 meters wide and 1.5 meters high. That's huge, that's a big car. So let's talk, how much space does the cabin get of all that size? So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seats in the Model S. You can get a 7-seater version if you get in the rear facing seats, but you know, I don't know if you can get them anymore anyway. The total passenger volume in cubic feet is 94 cubic feet. That's pretty big, it's a pretty big car. Front headroom's 38.8 inches, legroom 42.7 inches, front shoulder room 57.7 inches, front hip room 55 inches. But numbers aren't good, so let's just actually have a look at what that looks like. This Model S does feature easy entry. Easy entry is like a separate driver profile that you set, so when you get into the car, it makes it easier to get into, which basically means you can set it so the seat's really far back, and you can have it so the steering wheel's really far forward, meaning you can get into the car really easy. But I've noticed with a Model S, I don't actually use it because it is so big inside, there's so much space to get in the cabin. Whereas in the Model 3, I do use it, and a lot of that is to do with the seat placement. In the Model 3, the seats are a little bit more forward, and the dashboard's set even further forward, and that's how they managed to get lots of cabin space in the Model 3. But let's have a look. So this is probably where I would drive day-to-day driving, which is really good. You can come forward, so I could drive comfortably around here. It gives me enough room. It's probably where my Punto was back in the day. But let's have a look how far we can take this back. So there we go. So my left leg is almost fully stretched out. It's pretty good. Here's another nice little feature about the Model S, is I feel like the wheel comes further forward. So in the Model 3, I feel like I probably get similar-ish leg room to this, very close. The stats are very similar, but the wheel in the Model 3 doesn't come as further out, whereas I feel like it does with the Model S. So for me, I can get the wheel nice and comfortable and close to me whilst having the seat all the way back. Not only that, but you can also, if you wanted to, take the, and if you can see, you could take it all the way back. Coming forward, I don't actually sit that far back, to be honest. Only if I'm on a long motorway drive will I take it all the way back. You can also set the seat forward, so you can tilt it forward. And that's not what people think. That kind of lowers the seat a little bit. You can also pick the seat up into the air, which if you was looking for a nice high ride height for a smaller person, it'll be great. But for you tallies out there, you can lower this right down, and then you can crank it back as well, tilt your pelvis back a little bit, and you have so much room, which means, take my hat off for a second, there's a lot of headroom up here, a lot of headroom. Another lovely feature that the Model S has is that it has an adjustable headrest, electronically adjustable headrest. So you can either get that up in the settings, or if you toggle this little circle here, if you toggle that, it will bring up the settings on the screen. So I'm pressing that button now, and I can put the headrest on, and then I can use that same thing just to push, just give that a little push, and it will push. So obviously I have it on the highest setting, so my head's there. And then we have plenty enough headroom. In the last two Model S's that I drove, it didn't feel like it had as much room as this. Now I could just be imagining things, but I feel like there might be more room in the brand new Model S. So as you can see, lots of leg room. Could have my legs up. My leg is locked out, but I mean, if I was relaxing, it'd be like there. So plenty of leg room. And I mean, look at all that space. Now, let's hop into the back and see what the space is like there. So I have this set up for me as a driver. So my chair all the way back, and a tall adult there. And this is the room. Sorry about the mess on the floor. We had a road trip, and Jude is a very messy eater. So let's see if I can get in here. Okay, and shut the door. Okay, being honest, it's not ideal, but how often would I, like a tall person, be sat behind another really tall person? You'd have to have a family of around 5, 6'7" people, and I know they do exist. So if you are that family, I'm sorry, but you'd have to sort of put up with this. But actually, I could probably do a journey like this. Let's budge over. And that's lovely. That's a lot of room there. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's really comfortable to sit in these chairs. So one great feature about the Model S is these doors, and they have it on all the seats, and they're hard to show you. I'll show you here, it's probably better. They're these scoops, and while they don't look like much, it actually goes into the door, which gives you a huge armrest that's outside of your seat. So it's like it's like an armchair, because it's outside of your hips. Normally your arm would be tucked in like this, which is quite constricting when you're a tall dude or a big guy even. And now you got that, so that's a nice big room. There's a decent enough space left in the middle seat as well. I mean, I wouldn't want to be sat between two big people, but there is a decent enough room left there. If I wasn't being inconsiderate, I could quite easily have a nice budge up space, and have a small adult and another really big guy there. Wouldn't be a problem. Again, headroom, not the best. If I'm being honest, if I was fully sat up, that's what it would look like. If I was probably leaning forward, it'd probably be a bit like that. Another thing to note about EVs is the floor all the way through is pretty amazing. It's very spacious in an EV because the way they are made is completely different. So second row headroom is 35 inches, so a little bit lower. Second row legroom is 35.4 inches. Second row shoulder room is 55 inches. And the hip room is 54.7 inches. To me, the back is a really big car. It's really quite massive and it's perfect for families. And actually, it's kind of okay for transporting 5 adults round. It wouldn't be a problem unless you're all huge. The space in the cabin between the difference between the Tesla Model S and the Tesla Model 3 isn't massive. In fact, the height, the legroom, the headroom is all kind of similar in the front and the back. But where there's a huge difference between the two cars is the width. The width of the Model S is a lot wider, meaning there's a lot more space in the cabin between people, which is kind of important for these rear seats. So if you had a child seat in the back, in the Model 3, you're kind of cramped up, but in the Model S, not a problem whatsoever. In the front, that doesn't make too much of a difference, but it does give you a little bit of extra arm room and it just makes it feel a lot more spacious. So unless you have passengers, there's not that much difference. If you regularly drive passengers around and families, it would make the difference to have the Model S. All this space had me thinking, because this is a lot of space, is could I sleep in the Model S? Yes. Yes, yes and yes, you can sleep in the Model S. Night night. The Model S and the Model 3, in terms of cabin space, are almost the same. But why is the Model S so much bigger of a car? Well, that is the cargo space. That is where all the space is and all the difference is. In fact, the Model S cargo space is 2 times bigger than the Model 3's cargo space. So that's where they prioritized all the space. So let's have a look how big that actually is. The Model 3 is no slouch. The Model 3 is a big car, but the Model S is just massive. Adding the frunk and the trunk together, you get 900 litres of cargo space. That is Range Rover territory. That's a big, big car. It's huge. The frunk is the size of a small, maybe a smart car boot. It's pretty big. Just for size reference, guys, it's deep, it's big, it's a big boot. That's a MacBook, it's big. So the Model S is a big car. It's a very big car. Which means it's super practical. But in the UK, that size does have its downfalls. And one of those downfalls I found out recently whilst filming my Model S review. I filmed it in a car park, and this thing is big, it's long, so navigating tight roads and tight car parks and all those things, if you're not used to driving a big vehicle, it's something that you're going to have to get used to. See, I'm not even gonna risk it. I'm not even gonna risk it. It just looked way too close. Because this thing, at 5 meters long, you can't capture it on camera, but it's a long car. It's a very long car. It's a gorgeous car. Look at the state of that. But it's a long car. It's a big car. So if you're thinking about getting a Model S and you're going from a small car, so maybe you've got a baby on the way and you're thinking about upgrading the family car to something a bit bigger, and you've had a small car in the past, it's just something to consider that you might want to get used to driving a long car. Take it on a test drive, see how you feel on the road with the Model S. So if you're thinking about buying a Model S, but you're a little bit worried because you're on the taller side, don't worry. Tesla have got you covered. The Model S will fit anybody. It really will fit anybody. And there's no need to choose the Model X just because you're a tall guy. That being said, if you did have a really big family, the Model X might be worth considering. But if you're a really tall guy and you've got some really tall friends and you've got a big family, Model S has got you covered. No worries whatsoever. I quite regularly drive around with one young boy, 2 teenagers and another adult in the car. So 5 people in the car. And whilst the Model 3 is okay for that, on long journeys, you know, their legs might get a little bit tight. If I had the choice, I'd take a Model S. And the Model S would be perfect. And that's why the Model S has grown on me so much that I'm really hunting for one at the moment. Like I said, if anyone's got a good deal, hit me up on Instagram at Jordan Mulligan Brother, at Jordan Mulligan Brother on Twitter, at Just Tesla on Instagram, at Just Tesla on Twitter. I'm really slow with Just Tesla at the moment, but I'm trying to get good on the Instagrams. I just focus on YouTube too much. Anyway, guys, the takeaway is the Tesla Model S, the brand new one, is bigger, and I think it's actually bigger than the old Model S as well. There seems to be more space in the front and more space in the cabin as well. With all that being said, if you're thinking of buying a Tesla Model S because you've seen this video, go use the link in the description. You'll get 1,000 free supercharging miles, and I do get 1,000 free supercharging miles as well, and it helps support the channel, so I do really appreciate it. Everyone who's used that so far, massive shout out. I cannot thank you enough. I've explained to you guys before, like, this is the sole reason we're doing this channel. I really want to try and advance in my own way, try and help in the littlest way I can possibly with electric cars and give you guys as much information as I possibly can with my experience. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Everyone who's subscribed, thank you so much. Everyone who likes and shares and all those sort of things, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Thanks for watching. As always, you have been wonderful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yo. Wow. Sweet. I got this now.